Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final presentation on the assessment of BGP for Veja shoes. We are Team Brave, represented by Dana, Brenda, Valeria Sanchez, and Valeria Mendoza. It is important for me to mention right now that Valeria Sanchez has very unstable internet connection in her small town. Therefore, she will have to turn off her camera for the rest of this presentation. However, she will be interacting with emojis. Before we continue, I would like to establish the Marlin running shoes as the shoes that we will be importing from Brazil to Mexico. And it is important to mention that these are made primarily from recycled plastics.
So now we have reached the sustainable supply chain part, and down below you can find the directly link where you can click and see for yourself the whole chart. And now I'm going to present you the chart very quickly. I hope you can see it. So it is now, it is important to state that there are 5 different parts composing this flowchart. The first one is inventory policy, second, manufacturing, third one, distribution channel, fourth one, transportation and logistics, and the fifth one is the packaging, dispatching, and order tracking. It is important also to mention that the flowchart is almost as the original one that Vega Sneakers has on the website. The changes that we just made were that the distribution channels are going to be on e-commerce only, and the transportation and logistics is going to be by ship and truck. And then we have the couriers that we're going to use that are going to be FedEx, DHL, and UPS for making the dispatches around the world. And here we have in the inventory policy the materials, the raw materials that compose the shoes that we have chosen, that are rubber and organic cotton. And then the manufacturing is going to be the same, located in Brazil. And down below we have the perform that Vega shoes auditors their factories in order for them to comply with the values that they propose. Then we have the transportation and logistics that I just already explained to you, that are going to be truck and ship. And they have the packaging, dispatching, and order tracking that is going to be the same. And the contract that is going to be signed with FedEx, DHL, and UPS is going to be that they are going to deliver the shoes the next day or 2-3 days after the collecting, if possible. Now we're going back to the presentation.
Remembering that our shoes are made primarily from reused plastics, we decided on the HS code within section 12, that is 640419. Now, seeing as the NICOs, the 04 and the 05, pertain to both men and particularly to women, we decided to include both of these, seeing as both of these would be utilized in their importation. Analyzing this HS code within TradeMap, we found an applied tariff of 20% when importing these shoes.
Well, before we made all of these concepts and we applied them to this specific case, we realized a business plan, and we are about to explain to you concept by concept. Well, and the first thing to do was to choose an Incoterm, and for this case, we choose CIF, which stands for Cost, Insurance, and Freight. We decided to choose this Incoterm because in this way we would cover 2 important aspects of this specific project, which is the insurance. First of all, this Incoterm consists about the seller covering a big part of the costs and as well covering a big part of the insurance. As you can see, in most of the journey of the product, the one that will have more responsibilities will be the seller, and not until the product arrives. And it is also unlike the C, the buyer will start to having responsibilities. So, well, in the next slide, you will see how this insurance works. Can you go to the next slide, please? Well, the insurance term goes this way. It basically is mostly a responsibility to acquire for the seller. And this insurance is important to mention that needs to cover at least 110% of the total value of the product. This because it doesn't only need to cover like the whole product, it also needs to cover a 10% more, because it is only used, for example, when they have a really big loss. So they need to be sure they cover a little bit more than what the original value of the product it has. Also, it's important to mention that this insurance shall be acquired by the seller. It cannot be acquired by the buyer. And finally, this insurance needs to cover the security of the goods from the delivery point until it arrives to the designated port that is the one that the buyer like said. And on the other hand, the buyer's obligation, well, it starts like bearing with the risk at the moment the product arrives to the agreed place. Also, as I mentioned, this security plan needs to be only acquired by the seller, so the buyer does not have this obligation. And in case that there's an unfortunate situation and they need to like claim for this insurance, the only responsible for claiming it is also the buyer.
Now, to begin with our proposed route, we will start in Rio Grande do Sul, where the merchandise is assembled, to the most important seaport in Brazil, which is Santos Port. This merchandise there is loaded and transported by ship to the port of Veracruz in Mexico. And for the last part, we wanted to add the transport section from Veracruz to Mexico City by truck, because we believe that it is an interesting market to have our distributor center for the e-commerce market, and which is a very well located state that the company might be interested in to start operations within Mexico. And in the same way, we wanted to calculate the amount of carbon dioxide produced in this import, and it is a total of 219.19 kilograms of carbon dioxide. Now, for the legal framework, all of our arguments and documents that we are going to present later are based on the Customs Law Article 36A, where it stands that we need a document that proves the value of the goods, also a document that proves the origin and provenance of the goods, the transport document, which be the bill of lading, which be later on explained, and a document that provides that we are complying with the non-tariff regulations. For our HS code, we do have a non-tariff regulations, beginning with the automatic permit before the Ministry of Economy, which basically says that if the shoes are going to be staying in a permanent way in Mexico, and the unit price of the goods is lower, we need to be applying to the Annex number 3 that establishes the prices estimated by the Secretaría de Hacienda y de Crédito Público. Then we have the price estimated by the same Secretaría, and it says that our guarantee amount must be equal to the contributions, and where appropriate, compensatory fees that would be caused by the difference between the declared customs value and the estimated price. And last but not least, we have to comply with the NOM 020 SCFI 1997, which is the commercial information of our goods.
Now moving on to the import documentation. As we see here, there are 6 documents that are of high importance when importing these Veja shoes, including the customs declaration, the bill of lading, commercial invoice, manifestation of value, packaging list, and trusted letter conferred at SAT. Now, it is important that all of these documents are completed and include the correct details from both buyer and the seller in order for the package to be accepted into the country.
Now, in order to understand the strategy that we decided, which we e-commerce market, we took into account factors that may impact the performance of the company and also the sale of our goods, such as political factors, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental. And for the environmental part, which is a very important aspect for the company, we just wanted to clarify that actually Brazil and Mexico performance are very similar. However, Mexico does have much more current agreements towards several environmental issues. However, they are not as strict as they should, so that may be an issue for the company.
Well, finally, we will conclude with telling you about the agreement that exists between Mexico and Brazil. It is named ACE número 54, and this is an agreement kind of weird, but well, it exists. And the reason that this was created was in the first time for eliminate certain taxes, restrictions, and other obstacles that can affect reciprocal and also fair trade in between these countries. Also, it intended to establish a legal framework that allows offering security and transparency. And well, finally, also to promote the complementation in the economics field and also to improve more cooperations between these two countries.
So finally, as a conclusion, we just wanted to say that we think here we have a very good business opportunity between Vega and Mexico. So we strongly believe that the company should take the opportunity to establish into Mexico in order to make them a more loyal customers. Thank you.
Thank you.